Welcome to Nerdie Bunch presentation of Back to the Future. Join us as we traverse the space-time continuum, watching movies 20 years or older. I'm your host, English Dave, and joining me with her best Eddie Murphy laugh is my co-host, Rose. What's up, Rose?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
We are here today to review the trilogy, the original 3 films of the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. I asked Rose to join me. Well, actually, I didn't ask Rose to join me. Rose was like, I want to watch more older movies. Help me with movies. So I said, join me on my podcast. And Rose, you're here on the podcast with us. With the 4th film out today as we record this on Netflix, we decided to look at and revisit the first 3 films, 1984's Beverly Hills Cop, 1987's Beverly Hills Cop 2, and 1994's Beverly Hills Cop 3. We're going to start off with a spoiler-free segment. You know, for some people who have not watched this film before, Rose, you're someone who's never watched this film before, so I'm going to start with you. Had you heard about this film before? What were your expectations going into this film before you saw it?
I had no idea what the film was going to be like. I never heard about it before. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I mean, with the name, the title, like Cops, I knew it was going to be like action cop related. And also with Eddie Murphy, I knew there was going to be some sort of comedy in there as well.
Oh, so you know Eddie Murphy, so that's okay then.
Yes, that's a good thing. It was really nice to see him at that age.
Yeah.
It was really dope.
I think he was like 21, 22 in the original movie. He was so young, and his face, you can see how young he was.
Yeah.
Having watched the trilogy, the films of the trilogy, how do you think they've held up?
I did enjoy the whole, like, seeing the characters grow. I feel like for me, I'm not big on action movies. I'm more like comedy and happy movies, things that make me, realize new ideas. I mean, with every movie that comes with it. But I really enjoyed the character building and the development that they had throughout the three movies. I would say though that once I got to the 3rd one, I'm like, okay. I guess it was because I was watching them back to back.
The 3rd one's not good. Nobody likes that.
I was like, okay, we're good on this series.
It's interesting because I find that they kind of get, the first one's the best one, I think. And for me, the first one's the best one. The second one is almost like a remake of the first one. It's like it treads the same steps almost, but it loses a lot of the comedy. Like the first one's a good balance of action and comedy, right?
Yeah.
And it actually sets up a lot of the tropes that would become recognizable in action comedy or buddy comedy genres, where you have the crazy angry boss, or you have the young guy who does things unconventionally, and you have the uptight one. You know, it set a lot of the tropes up. But then the second one was like more of a thriller and action. And yes, it ramps up the action. It's from the director who Tony Scott, R.I.P., who directed the original Top Gun, and so it ramps up the action, but it almost loses its heart in the comedy. And then the 3rd one, it just, I don't know what they were doing. It feels like a completely different film. I don't even think Eddie Murphy's character is slightly changed. I don't think he's as comedic in the 3rd one. Funny things happen, but I don't think he's not like this fast, wise, cracking, quick, kind of a character. And the 3rd one is,
I definitely dozed off a bit that one. I was gonna say some things, but it's a spoiler free.
This is a spoiler free. Though that being said, would you recommend any or all 3 of the movies to anyone who hasn't seen them?
I would recommend the first one. I don't think that. I mean, I do enjoy, like I said earlier, the development in the characters and how they grow, and that's something that I really enjoyed about it being a 3-part movie. But I think they'll be fine with just watching the first one.
I mean, I'm hearing decent things about the 4th one. I haven't watched it yet. I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
And check it out. That's out now on Netflix. And it's crazy. this is a film franchise that started in 1984 and went only on number 4. You know, there are lots of films that came out like 10 years ago and there's like on number 7 or something like that.
Right. I can imagine
Right.
7, Beverly Hills Cop 7.
Actually, there was a TV series a couple of years ago. They filmed the pilot.
Oh.
They filmed the pilot, and it was following Axel's son, and they did a pilot and everything for it, but then they scrapped it because they didn't like it. And fun fact, Beverly Hills Cop 2 was supposed to be a TV series. Eddie Murphy didn't want to do TV, and so he said, "I'd rather do a movie." Look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting fun facts there.
Yeah, I did see that it was Eddie Murphy Productions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like in part of the credits.
Yes.
Like what's that? Like I didn't know.
Well, it's because then by the second and third film, he had more like power and control behind the scenes.
Got it.
Things like that. All right, let's get into some spoiler sections. This is a movie that explores, you know, from the name, you know, Beverly Hills Cop. Part of the narrative is you have this cop from Detroit, and especially at that time in the 80s, Detroit was very like rough and with a lot of issues going on, and the contrast to Beverly Hills, you know, Los Angeles. Which, a fun fact, the original movie was actually supposed to be a cop from East LA moving to Beverly Hills. They did, but then they wanted to go to have a bigger contrast. So rather than be in the same city, you know, they said let's have a bigger contrast. So they thought let's do New York, but then they thought Detroit, because Detroit at the time was going through a lot of rough times. You know, you even see the opening scene for the first film. You know, you see Detroit first. It's like almost like this rundown area kind of thing before we cut to LA. And so I want to talk about that contrast, right, in terms of Axel's character, right? How do you feel the film kind of showcased that contrast between Axel, where he came from, and Beverly Hills? You know, what did you think of that contrast of the film series?
I would say a lot of differences in mannerisms. I think with Axel coming from Detroit, you can tell that he has more of a like personal motivator in everything that he would do and everything that he would say. Like you see in all 3 of the movies that it was the cause of what happened in the movie were due to somebody close to Axel, and you can see how that's like a motivator for him and how his loyalty is super like showed throughout all 3 films, and you can tell the differences between him as a cop as well as the other guys as well, especially in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think what this film does a good job of is in that contrast. You're not quite sure at first because Axel's such a fast talking wise ass. You know, you're not quite sure. Does he even care about being a police officer? Is he good? But I think that's what makes it work, is that, like you said, you understand that he's actually passionate about his job.
Yeah.
And he's actually good at his job.
Yeah, and I think because of his confidence, I was like, okay, like he knows what he's doing. Like for someone to be so quick and fast and witty in that way, I'm like, okay, he definitely knows what he's doing in this. Like, and you can tell that he has a lot of passion and heart with everything that he does because of the way he would approach things.
And even though he can be silly and loud and obnoxious at times, seemingly, I think what happens is, because again, you get the context, he's an undercover cop. So I think he plays on that, where even how the first film opens, you're not quite sure. If you didn't know, is he the police officer or is he, you know?
Right. I was like, wait a second, like what's happening? Where we at? What we doing?
and throughout the film, throughout the 3 films, you have moments where he plays a character, you know, who go into character and act a certain way, like, oh, I'm a psychic. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. And I think it serves to kind of throw off the people, the characters, where no one's going to suspect him of being a police officer, right? Because he's just weird. But then ultimately, his unconventional ways work, because he ends up kind of figuring. Because there's moments where you're like, wow, this guy's really smart. I think I can't remember the second or first film where he does the whole fingerprint thing with the glue, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Or just the knowledge of how he kind of, when he goes into like detective mode, it's almost like a switch. So you realize, oh, he's not just a guy who's just being silly all the time. You know, that silliness is just a mask to kind of throw you off. Yeah, and I thought that was brilliant, which I thought was missing from the third film, because that silliness goes away. He's more kind of straight character. You know, there's no kind of as much personality to him, so he doesn't
That's true.
get as many moments to be a detective, right? Because he's not just a police officer; he's
Yeah.
a detective. He knows what he's doing. Let's talk
Yeah.
about supporting characters. There's supporting characters throughout that come in and out throughout the three films, but the main ones we get are Billy and Taggart, played by Judge Reinhold and Justin Ashton. I like these characters because they work as a kind of opposite to Axel.
Yes. They're
And
like polar
yeah,
opposites.
exactly. And so, what do you think of the kind of relationship between these characters throughout the trilogy?
I feel like one of my favorite parts of the movie was that I really enjoyed the second time around when they linked up again, and it was really dope to see how like Billy and how you say
Taggart.
Taggart, um, how they personally evolved as well. How Billy just completely went from being super like naive and like shy at the
Mhm.
beginning to this full blown like gun loaded
He was running his
every
own department, I think, in one of them,
yeah
right?
on the third one, but
Yeah.
the second one he had all these like weapons, and everyone was just like, what's going on, like is everything okay at home? But you can tell like he's like showing more of his character. There's more moments where you get to really see who they are, and I just really love their relationship. I loved how even in the first one, at first they still at the beginning you can tell like, right, because Axel came, no one knows who he is.
Mhm.
They're trying to investigate what is really going on. You can still see that they're eager and they're still willing to like know more about him.
Mhm. I think
Um,
what he teaches them is because one of the contrasts we get is that one, Beverly Hills, at least in that context, they don't really
yeah,
get much crime, but they have the best equipment, the best computers. He comes
right.
in like, what? You guys have all this cool stuff. The
And then he comes in like finessing everything
right,
without needing a single dime
right.
or
And
a plug.
but then I think what happens is that it shows that the Beverly Hills Cop are too by the book. There's that
Mm-hmm.
scene in the first one where Taggart punches him, and then his boss makes him apologize. Like, I
Yeah,
apologize. But then
right,
the boss is like, oh, if you want to press charges, and Axel's like, no, we don't press
right.
charges against each other. It was just a little kind of
Mm-hmm.
scrap we had, and it just shows the difference where they go by the book, and because they go by the book, as you see even in the second film, right, when you find out that the higher ups are the ones who are corrupt, right? You go if you're not willing to kind of break the rules, it can be used against you, and that's what Axel teaches them, that you can
Mm-hmm.
use other methods. You don't have to use illegal methods, but going by the book all the time is what kind of gives the bad guys the edge. And Axel's willing
Yeah.
to kind of cross lines and piss people off. And if it's pissing off the wrong people, guess what? That's even better for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see it too in Axel, like when he sees them like using their voice and defending themselves
Hmm.
regardless, you
Hmm.
can tell like, wow, I'm so proud of them. They're finally like putting two and two together.
Yes. It's like, come on, let's go to the strip club during work hours. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. But I liked what you said there. By the end of the first film, they realize they have loyalty for Axel. Even
Yeah.
their boss even defends Axel and says, he's legit and blah blah blah. I really like that. I also like the supporting characters of his boss, Inspector Todd, always cursing. What the fuck are you doing? Even his
Right.
dying breath.
I was like, I need to lower this volume because what is going on right now? Like so pissed off any moment. He was just like always pissed.
Like as he was dying, he was pissed. He's like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? Go get those motherfuckers. I love that. I thought again, I think the supporting characters are kind of what, like you said, even though the films haven't gone progressively better, it's the relationship with these
Yeah.
characters. Even characters like I love Serge. What's your name? Serge.
Me too. When he was like, it sounds like a detergent. Why are you saying Surge? And it's crazy because I literally, that's what I was calling him, like Surge. And then he said, it sounds like a detergent. I'm like, this is hilarious.
It's like Serge. And he was missed in the second film, but then when he comes back in the
He
third
was.
film,
I was like, where is he?
I was like, what? I feel like all his lines are just ad lib. That third film when he brings that ridiculous machine gun with a microwave built into it. I was like, what is
Yes.
this? I was like,
But that's just to show you, like, Beverly Hills, like, this is what the time they have on their hands, and this is what they're doing with it.
Actually, I want to talk to you about Beverly Hills. You know, you're someone who's
Mhm.
hip and in the know in the fashion world. What was it
Mhm.
like seeing the fashion of the 80s and early 90s in the movie?
It was super cool. I will tell you this. I saw when his friend came over in the first film, his friend came over, you can tell through the wardrobe that they had on that they were both completely from different parts of the world. Like they come from different parts, because the shirt that he had on had like prints and like
Mhm.
florals, and then Axel, I'm not too sure, he probably had like a crew neck on, like a red crew neck on, and seeing that was really cool, because it's like you can tell that they come from two different worlds.
Mhm.
And also too, when Axel goes to Beverly Hills, you can tell like how different it is, and to see how your environment reflects on what you choose to wear and your personality as well, which I think was really cool to see. And also I really enjoyed Jenny, like in the beginning.
Mhm.
Like I feel like she didn't have too much of a big role.
I wish she came back.
Same. I just loved how open and willing she was to like help her friend, especially with it being at her job and
And the
things
guy
of
that
that
killed was
nature.
the guy who was killed was also her friend. It was they had mutual
Yeah,
friend,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I
Mm-hmm.
was surprised they didn't bring her back because she lived in Beverly Hills, and he goes back, and
Oh,
we know in the character, so we never go back to that character every time we go back to Beverly Hills, which I
yeah.
thought could be used. Let's actually talk about the plots of the three films. You know, we spoke about the first film. The plot is, you know, his friend, something happens to his friend, a close friend of his, and he has to go to Beverly Hills to kind of investigate this. And
Yeah.
I thought this was really well done in terms of just having a simple narrative. You know, my best friend's got murdered because he got involved in some things that were bigger than what he knew, and I had to go and investigate this. And in the second film, I like the motivation for the second film, where he's the boss and the Captain Bogomil from Beverly Hills.
And I love that he didn't die,
No, he
right?
doesn't die. He doesn't
He
die.
doesn't
He was
die,
in a
yeah.
coma. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in a coma, and then he had to go back again. And then the third film it's almost similar, where the third film he has to go back because his actual boss gets killed.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, why did they murder
I
the boss?
know. I'm like, can he get a break?
Right?
Like,
That's my boss.
sheesh.
Okay, so again, I said the first film. It's funny because the first film it's an action comedy, but it only has 2 action scenes. Did you know that? It's only in the beginning
Mm.
with the truck car chase,
Yes.
and then at the end with the shootout at the mansion, which hilarious because
Oof.
all the
That
bad
was
guys
intense.
just how did they miss everybody?
Yeah. And it was like them just going around the place, and I'm like, wow, I have suspense, you know me, and thriller. I'm like, oh goodness, I hope no one that dies, like any of the like main characters, because everyone was just dying. I'm like, okay.
I think the first film, for being a first film, does the whole fish out of water kind of thing a lot better. Because
Mhm.
it's our first time in there. How did you find like the fish out of water narrative of Axel being different? How did you feel that contributed to the film?
I think it was such an important part of it, to see how he was able to use his unconventional ways in such new territory and still be like on point. I feel like his improvisation every time something came up, it helped a lot being from where he was from in Detroit because of the street smart, because you know nobody can really play with him because of what he was raised and how his upbringing, and I think bringing that into a new territory was really nice to see, because you can see how he doesn't lose himself in it either. Like he stays true to himself, and I love that. And I also feel like that even influenced like the people around him, which I think was really cool.
No, it's true because again, his character also becomes almost his commentary on that kind of bougie life. Like he's looking at, it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell? What's going on? What's this? Why
Mm-hmm.
is that person dressed up like this? But yeah, just talking about going back to the plot of the films itself.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, okay, the first film's about his friend. The second film is the the boss, the sergeant the lieutenant, sorry, at Beverly Hills Station investigating, and he goes, he gets attacked and gets put into coma by the alphabet robberies. And then the third film's all about the money laundering counterfeiting ring. Did any of these plots, in terms of the overall plot, did any of them stand out to you in a good way, in a bad way? I think the second film, the plot was over convoluted. I don't know what, I couldn't even figure out what they were doing overall. But any of the plot,
Right. And they were like cracking codes, and I'm like, what code? I'm like, what is happening right now?
like this is way you're going from A, C, D, F, G to B. It's like, what are
Yeah.
we doing? But in terms of the plots for any of them, was anything that stood out to you that you liked or didn't like?
I did like how the third one, they would introduce like new characters.
Oh, they tried to introduce a love interest.
You're right. And I think that was like, okay, this is a different, avenue that we're in now. And I think that was really tough to see him in that light. But my favorite plot was definitely the first one, with the best friend and him just going to Beverly Hills and him just like being freshly like exposed to Beverly Hills and the newness of it all. I think that's what I really enjoyed about the first plot.
Okay, let's talk about how certain things stand out by today's standards. Did you think a lot of the humor or the acting or the actions by today's standards, do you think it holds up? I felt like some of the humor, I'm like, ooh, like there's a lot of calling women bitches. I was like, ooh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and the part when they were like in the Playboy mansion.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're very
different
vulgar.
times.
Yeah, I'm like, that would not fly today.
No, it would not. There's some
Um,
things that they say. I was like, what the hell? What was
yeah, I'm
that?
like, who okayed this? I'm like, when there's like a camera in the room that you just look into, like, did you just
It's
see
like,
that?
what? Why would you? But I think for the most
Yeah.
part, though, I would say, if you agree with me, I would think the humor holds up. You have little moments
Yeah.
here, but I wouldn't think
Oh
like
no, it was.
you still found it funny.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I always think of what my neighbors hear, because all you hear is silence and then a big laughter, and that's how it would be watching. Like there'll be like little things here and there that I'm just like, this is hilarious. Like I actually watched the first one. I told you I watched the first one twice.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just had to see it again, and to like see different parts I didn't see, and also see it with my friends to see their reaction to it. But I just love his improvisation. Every time he needed something, he would just improvise and kill it.
I found it interesting in the third film. There's some things I'll notice, and these are just more minor things. When he's climbing down from the thing, I'm like, how strong is he? That one hand is on a rope, and another hand is holding two kids, and he's
Dude,
sliding.
I was getting dizzy watching this. I'm like, I don't need to watch this because you will not catch me at an amusement park again. But it just, you can even see like how back in the days, like they would do these like stunts and things.
Yeah, stunts are very different.
You can tell, yeah, very different.
There's moments where like, because like nowadays when they do an action film and an actor plays a police officer or an action hero, they go through like weeks and months of training, so everything's on point. The way they hold the gun, the way they move. I don't think they did that in this movie, because sometimes the way they like dive and roll, I'm like, you would have gotten shot. That doesn't do anything. But that was very much the 80s. Speaking of the 80s, let's talk about the soundtrack. That's one of the most famous things about this movie is the soundtrack, specifically the song Axel F. Dun, 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 dun. That was
every time that one came up, I'm like, okay, we in Beverly Hills now.
That song was originally just supposed to be for one scene, but then they loved it so much they just had it over and over again. They even tweak it sometimes where it's like slower or faster, different tones. What do you think of the song? Is it stuck in your head?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I ended up downloading the soundtrack on my Spotify, because I'm like, I need to see these songs that came up, and I think that it brought a lot of that 80s feel, you
Mhm.
know, these songs that they chose, the ones that were at the strip club, the ones where he will be driving. And I think it was really cool because the songs were great. And
Mhm.
that's why I went and downloaded the soundtrack, because I'm like, I need to see who these people were and, you know, all about that.
And it's funny because that sound, you speak of the soundtrack, it's one of those where most action movies today will have a score, right? It's a score like da 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 da. Whereas in the 80s and early 90s, it was a song, a soundtrack. You know, so during the action scene, it's
Yeah.
somebody singing as opposed to just
Yeah.
hearing music. I thought, but then it kind of brings a different kind of energy to it, and it definitely reminds you of the time.
It does.
I
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed
I enjoyed it.
that.
And also, I wanted to go back
Well,
to the one of the things that stood out to me that you asked that stood out. One of the things that stood out to me in that was like comparing to the two movies
mhm.
was at the first movie when he got thrown out the window. That right there, it was hilarious.
And he
And
gets
then the
arrested.
third, and then he gets arrested. And then the third one, they're showing the tape of him just shooting at people, but not the people shooting at him.
Oh yeah, when they
And
edit it, yeah.
yeah, when they edited the film,
Yeah.
the tape, and it was just really cool to see how like it, like, you know, people in these places, in these, you know, like how you want to say it, like in this hierarchy,
Yeah.
where it's like, you know, they can really tamper with any information and just do as they please.
These powerful institutions.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I think you hit a point there in terms of the part of the themes of the film, right? You know, the first film showcases like in terms of these institutions in Beverly Hills, be it the restaurants or the hotels or the police itself, they carry themselves with such snootiness, but at the same time, in the background, they're doing all this manipulative, illegal things. You know,
Yep.
that's all a facade. It's like you are a criminal. You're
Right.
just wearing a suit. You know, it's just high
It's
class.
exactly.
And that's the thing, is he just trying to get away with it, and he kind of is there to call out, which again showcases how, you know, these criminals can get away with a lot, because sometimes he'll come up with all the evidence and it's like, no, they have so much power. You know, I liked the scene in the third one though, when he finds about the money laundering machine, and he calls everyone and comes in, and it's like, nope, he switched out the paper and things like that. You know, just having that kind of power to do whatever you want. He's that person that comes to disrupt all that. It's like, nope, you cannot.
And he doesn't care. He
Nope.
will. It's funny because like at that point, like Billy and all of them, they already know, like, I know you're not gonna just come in here and just chill and look and observe. You're gonna start shit up.
every time the siren goes off, they're like, oh, it's Axel, isn't it?
Foley.
Every time all on the radio is like, there's an incident at blah blah blah. They're like, oh, it's Foley. Instantly know it's Foley. But it's true. It's,
I just
but that's what he is. He is that person that it's not like he's causing the issue. He's just kind of putting a magnifying glass in it, and then they're just reacting to it like, oh shit, somebody saw us. We were supposed to be ignored. Nobody. We were supposed to, because again, because they know how to manipulate the rules, they were able to kind of go around things to get their way. And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to break those rules that you manipulate, which makes it work. And again,
and he wouldn't break character. Like,
no.
This would not break character. Like, he will fake it till he made it. Like, I'm like, no, this is a skill. It's like everywhere he goes, he just, when he goes to the hotel at the beginning, he's able to finesse a room.
Right.
When he finesses his way into the Playboy Mansion, like all of these, he just doesn't need any like help with these things. That he's just like able to like use his witty self and
he even finesses,
go right into it.
He finesses a whole like mansion house.
Mansion, yeah.
Like
it's because like, and I think what it is too, people in Beverly Hills are not used to that kind of dynamic. They're not used to like the fast speaking, the like, and they're so like they were so gullible into believing everything, and they were just like tired of it. They were like, you know what, go do. Yep, you are right. You everything you're saying is correct.
He's like, who told you to keep doing this? No, everyone stop everything.
Stressing the poor man out. He's like, oh my God.
And again, like I said, he's talking so fast that you don't even realize what he's doing. Before you know it, he's
exactly
what he wants. You spoke about the you brought up the strip club scene. Well, that's one of my
Mhm.
favorite scenes in the movie because again, the context of it is like, oh, let's get to the strip club, blah blah blah, and you're thinking just like Taggart and what's his name, Billy. They're thinking, oh, we're on the job. Why are we going here? But then while they're there, he's the one that
Yeah.
notices the guys who are trying to rob the place. Right? He's the
Right.
first one to kind of click onto it. So as much as he's having fun, he's still in detective mode because they don't notice it.
Yeah.
He notices it first, and he's just like, and you realize, oh shit, this guy, he's just putting on this facade. He's constantly like
Mhm.
aware of things, and that's how he's able to understand.
Yeah.
That's how like he's able to find clues in things that the others miss. That's how he's able to ask the questions that the others let slide, because he's like, no, why does it work this way? Why does that person have
Right.
all this power? Nobody questioned it. You're just like, this is how it is, so we
Mhm.
just go with it.
Yeah, that sense of awareness
Mhm.
is very present from the
Yes,
beginning.
yes. Okay, let me ask you a final question. Are you
Mhm.
interested in the fourth film?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I came in this far. I gotta go run it back again because yeah, I want to see who's included, what new characters are in it. I really enjoy when they add new characters
Mhm,
and their interactions with him because he's such a big personality.
mhm.
It's really dope to see.
I would like to see. Actually, fun fact: the original, I think it was the second or third film. I think the third film was originally supposed to be set in London. They were supposed to have Billy, Taggart, and Axel, all three of them, go somewhere different, right? But
Yeah.
I would love to see Billy and Taggart, or or a story that happens
Mm,
in Detroit.
me too. I
Flip
actually
it.
wanted to see just like one of Billy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm so interested to see like the way he went from being this shy, timid, naive character to being a sergeant, having his own office with all his weapons. I really when when in the second one when he was grabbing all the weapons.
Yeah, yeah.
He was like a kid in Candyland. Like he was like, "Oh, so now I'm taking this with me."
He has a trunk.
I just really loved like how the characters like developed throughout the
Mhm.
films.
I like Billy and Taggart's relationship as well. Taggart's always like,
Same.
"Oh, my wife and kids." Like, no, just your kids. Your wife divorced you again.
Right. And I love that they were like polar opposites, like he was very by the book.
Hmm.
He wasn't impressed by Axel's like unconventional ways about doing things, and I just really loved how that evolves.
Hmm. Here's a couple of fun fact moments. One, the first film was at number one in the theaters for 13 weeks. 13.
Sheesh.
You can't.
I could see it. I could see it.
I'm just saying,
What?
it is a very different time because now we live at a time because there's a lot more films coming out. There was a time where you'd
Yeah.
have one big film in the summer. Now we have like
Hmm.
big film every week. So there's
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good a film is. 13 weeks, absolutely not. 13 weeks, it'll be on DVD by that time.
Right.
Like back then it would take a lot longer before films came out on to watch at home. Sometimes up to a year. Now
Yeah.
movies come out like a month later, they're out, and especially for an R-rated film where to be number one for 13 weeks, an R-rated film, that's insane. And fun fact, that movie came out in 1984. It wouldn't be until
Wow.
1999, I think 1999's The Matrix, it would be, until then it was the highest grossing R-rated film ever, from 84 to 99. Crazy is that?
Wow. I see it though.
It did very well.
I see why.
Yep. And Eddie Murphy was not the first choice for this film. Yes. I don't know if you know this actor. Do you know Mickey Rourke? He's an actor. He was big in the 80s and 90s. Recently,
Mhm.
well, I mean, when I say recently, I'm talking relatively recently. He was in a movie. He was the villain in Iron Man 2, Whiplash, with the whips.
Mhm.
And he was in a movie called The Wrestler. He was huge, like huge heartthrob in the 80s, and he was asked to do it. He was actually started working on it, but then because of time constraints, he had to pull out. And then second, they went to Sylvester
Oh.
Stallone, Rambo himself, Rocky. Because again, he was also big in the 80s as well. Um,
Yeah.
he completely rewrote the script, took out all the comedy, made it more of an action film. And the kind of studio were like, we kind of want to do that kind of action comedy. And then they went
Yeah.
to Eddie Murphy. And it's interesting because, as a fellow person of color, I always thought this movie was written for a black person, a black actor in Beverly Hills. That
Yeah.
contrast of a black actor from a certain neighborhood to go to Beverly Hills, but no, it was written for there wasn't a race given to the character. It was just about having the contrast of where they are. And Eddie Murphy brought his own personality to it, and I thought that really worked very, very well. The first one was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. Look
Wow.
Look at that. Interesting. See, this movie was bigger than people realized.
No, yeah, honestly, I brought it up. Me now at this point, I'm 3 movies in. I'm bringing this movie up now. And everyone watched it. And I'm like, oh, was I the only one who didn't get the memo?
That was the last one. And also to bring back to the fashion, it's one of those things, you're starting to see that fashion coming back. Like a lot of the clothes he wore, you could wear today and get away with it.
The varsity jacket.
Oh yeah, the jacket is the most
Axel was dripped out. He was dripped out. The whole crew neck with the jeans and the Adidas, like super laid back. Like yeah,
that's definitely.
And then everyone in Beverly Hills suited up.
The second film, fun fact: the second film has a little. I don't even remember it. The first big screen cameo of Chris Rock. He has a little cameo as a valet. Just a little moment.
I was like, wait a second. So young.
Right.
It was so quick though. I'm like, damn, I wish it was a little more. Give us a little more.
Right. But hey, his career clearly went down a good path. So that was great for him. I think that is everything we could talk about as opposed outside of talking through the actual films itself. Anything else you want to mention?
What I wondered about the film, if there was any moments where he had to do like improv. Like where he had to like do his like something that he like if it wasn't a part of the script. I wondered.
There were many moments, especially his moments with Taggart and Billy. And if you watch the film again, he would ad-lib so much they would have to cover their faces from laughing so much. They ruined so many takes. You can even see this. And some takes are in film where he says something silly because again he would ad-lib say something different every single take, and so because again, this is a time where you're filming with film, right? So it's not digital. Right. So it's expensive. It costs money. And so there's moments where they're literally doing this, putting their hands in there, covering their mouth because they're just laughing so much. And I can imagine.
Because I feel like I definitely saw a lot of personality in his character, like of Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
That's why I wondered. I'm like, there has to be certain moments where he just did it off the fly.
Oh no, it's definitely him because in the interview, people ask him, "Oh, do the Axel Foley laugh?" And he's like, "That's not Axel Foley laugh. That's my laugh."
No, because the laugh was my highlight.
Though he's toned it down, he doesn't do it as much in the third one. He just he doesn't do the laugh as much. I think
the third one he was so serious.
Yeah, he was so serious. That's the thing. He doesn't have many fast talking moments. He's more like a generic police officer. There's no Detroit person.
And I think maybe comes with age, like the cop world. Yeah. At that point, you're just like, I'm solving these crimes.
Yeah.
All jokes aside.
And then the whole kind of Wonder World or whatever narrative. I thought it could have done so much better. I like the idea of an action film, like the Die Hard. Have you seen Die Hard, or should I put it on the list of films you need to watch?
We need to put that on the list.
The Die Hard is just like, the main character is stuck in this skyscraper while these terrorists are attacking. He has to figure it out. And I thought the third one could have been the same in an amusement park, right, where he has to survive in the amusement park. But I think it just gets silly, and it just, I don't know, this whole Wonder World, and he gets the fox and Uncle Dave. I don't know what. All these storylines.
Like, how you know this guy? Like, why are you so excited to see this man? Like, they got one in Detroit. Like, what's going on?
Like what? In fact, I would have made Uncle Dave a bad guy because he loves him so much. That kind of like, sometimes the people that you put on a pedestal end up being. I would have made him like this old guy. You think he's sweet? He's actually the villain behind it all. And even in the third one, when you find out that the FBI agent was villain, I was like, where did that come from?
Right.
the guy was helping him out the whole time, and then you find out he's the bad guy. Then why didn't you warn your fellow bad guys that he was coming?
Yeah.
I just thought what.
Hamas Express.
It's no sense at all. Anyway, on that note, I would say for the most part, even though the plot lines for 2 and 3 are iffy, I think as a whole, like you said, because of the characters and the character relationships and the dynamics, it makes the franchise fun. And I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing the fourth film. Hopefully, they can kind of.
Yeah, I'm excited. Might watch it right now.
I mean, if you want to review it next week with me, we could do that.
I'm with that.
I'll watch it right now too. There you go. I'll watch it now.
Yeah.
You watch it now, and then next week we can do it. But on that note, what do you nerdies think of this film? Have you seen this film before? Have you revisited it lately? How do you think it's held up? Let us know. Find us on social media at The Nerdy Bunch. And also, if you enjoyed listening to us, give us a 5-star rating or thumbs up or whatever it is you have to do on your podcast services, and share with your peeps. Especially we have new member Rose joining us. Let your peeps know about her. She's definitely going to be joining us for more. I think we have the movie Twisters coming out, so I might want to do the original Twister. I might get you to watch that. We'll see. But
up next.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch presentation of Back to the Future, where we spoke about the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. And as always, everybody, keep it nerdy. Peace.